Hi, my name is Amanda Smith. I am studying business administration with an emphasis in human resource management. I currently work at a preschool. What I found interesting about Austin's podcast was it was the first time for me that sports data really made sense. I think a lot of times it's overly complex on TV, but the way that he broke it down and explained his personal career really helped me to understand it better. And I really had no clue how much that data went in to picking a player for a team. So Austin could use his scenario and put it into a decision tree. He could say, I could either keep playing the position I've played my whole life, or I could start pitching. Seems kind of crazy to switch, only 2 years of college left, but that's the decision he had to make, because if he was going to continue with his current position, he would have to have a perfect 2 years. He would have so much pressure on himself. And what's the probability that he's going to get the right amount of runs, the right amount of hits, all of this stuff? He could separate that into the probability of that happening. And even then, scouts could be like, well, that only happened because you're playing a lesser team. It could potentially be a lose-lose situation, but he could divide that out into the probability of having a perfect 2 years left of college. Or he could start pitching and decide the probability of if he can get his speeds up to professional level, whatever that would be. I'm really not sure of those numbers. So what's the probability that he can become that successful in 2 years when it's time to pitch professionally? And then he could solve that decision tree and work those numbers to decide what's best for him. Another decision that was talked about that used data is when coaches are looking at players like Austin and then his competitors, another guy that's got the same weight and height and all these same statistics. What can he pitch versus what Austin can pitch? How are their curveballs? There's all these numbers that go into pitching that can be compared. And the reason Austin made these decisions is all because if he can pitch at this speed, he can pitch at this speed. It doesn't matter what school he came from, who his competition is, what the weather is. It is what it is. And that was his best bet, was to start pitching. So I enjoyed breaking down a simple idea of decisions that are commonly made in sports. But then I decided to go another route with my own decision analysis. So like I said, I work at a preschool, and the one I work at currently is under expansion. They are adding a classroom. So it gave me the idea that if I was the business owner, I could use a decision tree to decide if I should expand or not. So it's one of those expand or do nothing decision trees. My generic thought process was, you have X amount of profits maintaining your current classrooms. If that's 30 students, maybe that's how many is at my job. And then you have X amount of expenses. This company has been in business for 20 years. We know that our profits are going to cover our expenses. But we would never make any more profits than what we do at this moment unless we expand. We're at max capacity. And I think we could think about the economy changing, inflation. That profit that used to work for me now could potentially not work in the future. So I could make a business decision to see if the additional costs of a construction loan, if I had to add a whole new room, that's what they're doing at work, and bathroom, all that, what that would cost, a loan for that, and the additional teacher wages, maybe supplies for the classroom, just the maintenance of these extra students. This could be food. I don't know. There's a lot that could go into it, but I just generically wrote out some numbers, which I'll kind of explain my thought process with the specifics. And then we also have to consider the probability of success. We know we're going to succeed if we stick to what we've been doing. It's succeeded for a long time. But there's also a chance that we would not fill that classroom. Like, what if people can't afford childcare like they used to and they're having to keep kids at home? So we have to consider the probability of success and failure to know if taking on these extra expenses is a good idea or not. So I started out with considering my current profit and current expenses. I said we have 30 students currently, and it costs them $600 tuition for childcare. So we've got $18,000 of profits currently. Our expenses, utilities, food, maybe a loan on the building, you could better divide that out or get a better calculation, but we'll just say that it's $5,000. We have our potential profits. If we add this new class, we have the profit we currently are making of $18,000. and then another classroom with 18 students, that's how many's in my current preschool classroom, times the 600 tuition will give us an additional $10,800. Add that with our current profits, we are at $28,800. And then we have to consider our potential expenses, which simply put could be our new teacher wage and construction loans. We'll say this is $17,900. I had some calculations why that's so specific, but I think for the purpose of this, we'll just stick for what it is. So then I built a tree based off this potential scenario. We have a preschool. We either expand or we don't. Obviously these circles were blank. I had to solve that. I know if we do nothing, we're going to make $18,000 profit. We have a 100% success rate. We have a 0% failure rate, which failure meaning that we do not cover our expenses. Every business wants to make a profit. We will fail if we do not make a profit. But we can say confidently that that will happen with our current expenses. With expanding, we're going to make a higher profit, but there's also higher expenses. Is this decision worth it? We have to consider the probability that what if we can't fill that classroom? Most likely we will due to our high wait list, but nothing is 100%. So if there's an 80% chance our classroom will be completely full, maximize profit, with a 20% chance that that will not happen, we have these expenses, $17,900 versus our $28,800 of profits. So to solve this decision tree, we multiplied out our current profits times our 100%, subtracting our expenses to give us a total of $18,000. We know we will make that profit either way, but can we do better? So I calculated our potential profit times the 80% chance that it will succeed, subtracting the potential expenses with the 20% chance that we will fail, getting this $19,460. And that tells us that we will make a higher profit by expanding versus not. So that's kind of how I came up with my decision tree. And thanks for watching.